Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Tonight, a remarkable potential breakthrough offering a glimmer of hope for those fighting ALS. The Ice Bucket Challenge raised nearly $250 million to fight the debilitating disease, sparking a new wave of research. And for the past 2.5 years, we've been blown away by the people we've met, including those who believe that what you're about to see is a medical marvel. Thurman Maynard is in the fight of his life. Diagnosed with ALS at just 35 years old.
Now I have to lean against something for balance issues. My balance has gotten worse.
A husband, a father. ALS has already robbed him of his career, his passion for dirt biking, and eventually it'll steal his ability to walk, talk, even breathe. But Thurman still has hope, because he was chosen for a potentially groundbreaking clinical trial using stem cells designed to beat back the disease. And today, he's about to attempt what he was convinced he'd never do again.
What are we about to do here?
Try to ride a motorcycle.
For the first time in?
About 2.5 years.
How's it feel?
Feels good so far.
Thurman's convinced he's experiencing something that in the world of ALS is considered impossible, a reversal of its devastating symptoms.
This was the hardest part that I had. I couldn't pull the clutch in.
And now you can.
Yes.
It's an astonishing victory that gives tantalizing hope where once there was none. Because this is the brutal reality of ALS.
I call it the beast because it comes at you every single part of your life.
You're about to meet 3 brave warriors at different stages of their battle, from the bodybuilding undercover police detective to the motocross dad and the hometown hero who helped inspire an internet sensation. It was the summer of 2014. Your Facebook feed was no doubt flooded with all your friends dumping ice water on their heads.
Oh my God.
Overnight, the Ice Bucket Challenge exploded. And those 3 letters, ALS, became known around the world. And it worked spectacularly. More than $220 million donated to ALS organizations for a disease once named after Lou Gehrig. Now, 5 years later, in the heart of Boston, hundreds of people gathered.
We can cross the finish line and rid the earth of this disease.
Watching from the stage, one of the men who helped launch millions of ice buckets.
Frady's is swinging the bat today with an awful lot of confidence.
It wasn't long ago that Pete Frady's was a beloved star athlete at Boston College. With a bright future and a beautiful girlfriend, when out of nowhere, heartbreak.
The doctor comes in and he throws up a slide. It's burned forever in my memory. So he said, Pete, I don't know how to tell a 27-year-old guy you have ALS.
For a young guy like myself to be diagnosed, hopefully I can use my youth and the networks that I'm part of to promote some awareness.
Tapping into those social networks, beginning with Boston's biggest athletes, he helped launch a worldwide movement, eventually reaching billionaires, even presidents. Pete and his girlfriend got married, even had a baby, despite the odds. Pete's mission, to keep fighting for his young family. His bravado helping so many in the throes of this terrible disease. People like Sarah Olson, who's now benefiting from the millions raised by that icy challenge.
Joey, you're getting too fat. You need to diet so your harness fits better.
The average age of onset for ALS is 55. Sarah was just 29. She's now on one of only 2 treatments available to ALS patients, Radicava, which was fast-tracked and approved.
What comes to mind when you think, were it not for the ice bucket, I wouldn't be on this drug?
That's helping. Yeah, that's months on my life that because of Pete, I have that chance. In the past 1.5 years, things have changed, but I still have use of my arms, my hands, My voice has not changed. It's quieter, but things could be a lot worse.
This was Sarah just a few years ago, a bodybuilding champion in peak physical condition.
7% body fat, 6-pack abs, oh yeah.
You had it going on.
It was dedication.
How much time were you spending in the weight room?
About 3 hours a day.
Offstage, Sarah was just as fierce, a sporty tomboy turned undercover detective for the Kansas City Vice Squad.
What was your favorite part of being a police officer?
Interacting with the kids. I love dealing with the kids. I'm small, I'm a woman, so the little girls they love to see me in the uniform.
You're like a superhero come to life.
That's what it felt like.
But 2 years ago, the superhero began losing strength on her left side, and her legs kept twitching, the combination, a potential sign of ALS.
And I didn't know what it was. Thought maybe it was related to energy drinks. Cut out the energy drinks. Then just progressively got weaker and weaker. Wound up trying to go up some stairs. Fell backwards on my head and got several stitches. So I knew I had to start getting some answers.
She finally met with the neurologist.
And did you get a sense from that neurologist something's up?
Oh yeah. They have a MyChart system where you can look up your records and it says possible diagnosis. It's amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. I looked it up and knew right then that's what I had.
Sarah attacked her ALS diagnosis head on, giving friends and family little time to feel sorry.
I said, Mom, you got 5 more minutes to be sad, and then we got to figure this out. We got to work through it.
But in her mission to push forward, some stay behind.
You were married at the time.
I was.
What happened?
He walked out, couldn't handle it, couldn't face it, but there was a bump in the road and I moved on.
You're not bitter?
No. Life's too short.
Short indeed. But Sarah's zest for life only grows.
I've got to go on probably close to 20 trips with all my loved ones, friends, family, making so many memories. You know, I've lived more in the last year than I did in the first 30.
She's even managed to find love again. Her former supervisor, Police Captain Lonnie Price, her very own superhero.
So as I needed more assistance, Lonnie stepped in the picture and he's like, you don't need to drive, I'll just come get you. And it just kind of evolved, and that was my person. I felt safe, felt comfort if he was there.
How did you fall in love?
How can you not fall in love with somebody that takes such good care of you?
This is the first time I'm seeing your eyes get misty. Why?
Because I'm lucky. He's very selfless, takes excellent care of me. There it is.
During the day, Lonnie takes care of Sarah's every need, and together they squeeze joy out of every moment. He volunteered for the overnight shift to make it all work.
I love you.
Love you.
I'll see you in the morning. I will.
Friends and family take over,
Yeah, that's good.
while Lonnie patrols some of the city's most dangerous neighborhoods.
Unless they find a cure, you know what the end is. So, that's the tough part. She's the one I want to be with, and it's an honor to take care of her.
He knows what lies ahead. He's informed himself. So, he's not going anywhere.
Neither is the police department, keeping her on salary, letting her work when she can. Her co-workers gifting her their precious sick days.
I had 400 donated sick days in 2 days.
400 donated sick days?
I had people asking me, are you okay on days? Do you need more days?
Sarah's treatments may slightly delay her symptoms, but the only hope for a real breakthrough lies in a few clinical trials. Because of her progression, Sarah is not eligible.
Are you trying to get on that?
I would love to, but I have to give up my breathing machine, and I can't afford to do that.
I might use syringes.
But Thurman Maynard is one of the very few people who've been accepted into a potentially groundbreaking clinical trial. There's never been a reversal of symptoms, which is why what he's about to show us is truly remarkable.
So you were having trouble doing that with your left hand?
Yes.
And that was quite easy.
Yes.
That's a change.
This stem cell study may be doing the impossible, reversing the symptoms of his deadly disease.
I mean, whenever I went back to the doctors, hey, have you noticed any kind of improvement? And I said, yes, I can stand on my tippy toes. I showed them it was a wow factor.
Wow, that was a wow. You wowed your doctors.
I even wowed myself.
When we come back,
If you are able to ride today, what will that tell you?
That'll tell me something's working.
Thurman is about to try something he hasn't done in 2 years. Stay with us.
Nightline, Beyond the Bucket continues. Here again, Juju Chang.
My dad's name is... My favorite thing to do with my dad is...
Most ALS patients are given 2 to 5 years to live. But 7 years after his diagnosis, Pete Frates is still fighting. Costly round-the-clock care keeping him alive. His legacy? His daughter Lucy.
When my mommy dumped water on her hand when she had her black dress on, I was actually there.
Promising new treatments may not make a difference in Pete's battle, but the Frates family is still focused on the future.
When this disease is stopped, which it's going to happen, this will go back to Pete and the Ice Bucket Challenge for being the beginning of the end of this disease.
The beginning of that end may be found here in rural West Virginia, where the solution may already be coursing through Thurman Maynard's body. Thurman was your typical sports buff who married his middle school sweetheart, Amanda.
I was playing football. She was a cheerleader. Enough said.
Game over.
Game over.
The two met on the field and bonded over their love of riding dirt bikes. Their 2 teenagers love to ride as well.
A family that rides together and stays together,
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah.
But why does he love it so much?
I think just the freedom.
But it was on his beloved bike that he first realized his destiny would take a turn.
Working the clutch on the left-hand side. Couldn't pull it in, couldn't shift gears with my left foot. It was like a snowball effect.
After multiple doctor's appointments, Thurman received that dreaded diagnosis, ALS.
I was stupid about the disease. I didn't know nothing about it.
What went through your mind, Amanda? Do you remember what was going through your mind?
With Thurman unable to work, the couple sold their home and that prized dirt bike.
How desperate were you to find some sort of a hope?
I've called several of the hospitals and nobody reached back out to me. And then out of the blue, an icon that popped up on my cell phone, Brainstorm stem cell therapy on it. It had a phone number, I clicked it and I called it.
That's good spam.
That's awesome.
Thurman's progression is relatively slow, making him a perfect candidate for that cutting-edge stem cell trial, 800 miles away in Boston. So Thurman and Amanda decide to make the long commute. The treatment involves removing a patient's like Thurman's own stem cells and treating them. Thurman is one of just 150 people chosen out of 30,000 ALS patients across the country. But the study is double-blind. None of us knows if Thurman is actually getting his own enriched stem cells or if he's getting a placebo.
You're convinced that you're not on the placebo?
I'm not convinced. I feel strength back in my body. Of course, my left hand.
Is it the power of placebo?
If you're injecting water in my spine, I said continue. I said because the way I feel great.
Dozens of clinical stem cell trials for ALS have all failed to produce a treatment. But Thurman's trial, with a year to go, is already attracting attention. In part due to this video. ALS activist Matt Bellina, who's getting the same treatment as Thurman. That's him rising from his wheelchair, he says, for the first time in 2 years. And months later, this, taking steps. He's the only patient getting the treatment outside a clinical trial.
Why did we need this bill?
Bellina fought for access using the right to try law. His medicine funded by the CEO of the drug company, Brainstorm. And just yesterday, a patient advocacy group reported a groundbreaking meeting with Brainstorm's team and the FDA. ALS patients clamoring for speedy access to treatment.
We've seen cases where people got better very quickly, but we don't know enough to say that they actually stayed better. And so promising is really the best we can say at this point.
Back home in West Virginia, Thurman is convinced he's regaining skills he thought he lost forever.
Before, I wasn't able to use my left hand. Now,
It's working pretty well.
pretty simple to use.
Something essentially unheard of in the ALS community.
Just a simple.
I have to say, that's a small gesture, but a huge meaning.
Yes.
But today, a bold decision, attempting to get back on a dirt bike for the first time in over 2 years.
Today's going to be the first day.
Today's the day.
There's an old saying among motorcycle riders. 4 wheels move the body. 2 wheels move the soul. How does it feel? What does that mean?
Speechless. Almost like having a newborn baby. But
You're giddy right now.
Yeah.
In your mind, you felt like you would never ride again.
I never thought I would have this moment right here, ever again.
Today, the joyride of a lifetime. It may seem like a small thrill, but it's a towering act of defiance in the face of a disease that stands undefeated.
I don't want to be foolishly optimistic, but do you really think this is the stem cells doing it?
If it's not, it's got me fooled. It's working.
Wow, goosebumps.